Hello, everybody. It's Tom Stoukas coming to you from Sarnia, Ontario on November 7th, 2025. The year's almost over. So, I thought the big story would be we were talking on Tuesday about the budget and whether it'll pass and whether we'll have an election. I thought that would be the big story. And, I knew it was going to pass. I thought the NDP was going to support it. But the big surprise I thought for me, I guess, because I'm not plugged into the Conservative Party, is the the turmoil in the Conservative Party. We saw an MP cross over to the Liberals, another MP quit, and the rumor is that he got caught talking about moving over to the Liberals, so he just quit just to get out of there. And then tons of news articles all day, and whether they're true or not, is of turmoil in the Conservative Party and dissatisfaction with Pierre's leadership. So, yeah, the knives are out, I think, for Pierre. There's people in Conservative Party who don't like Pierre. They're like more centrist, not really hardcore conservatives. They're more progressive conservatives. And, an election win erases all that. Everybody's happy with the election win, but Pierre lost the election, so a few disgruntled conservatives looking, and they're starting to make calculations if Carney's going to have a de facto majority for the next 3 years, which, I can't see him not, because the NDP, they got 7 seats. They have no money. They have no leader. They're not going to go to an election for a long time. So, and the Liberals have so much money to bribe them with, all the goodies for them that they don't have right now, because I don't even think they have official party status. So a lot of conservatives are making the calculation now. Is like, should we switch out Pierre now while there's time, or should we stick with him? That's what's going on, it seems. Well, if he won, like, everything's all good. Doesn't matter. But when he loses, that's what that's what happens. It happens to the Liberal Party too. When they lose elections, when they win, it's all good. So that's the big story for me. And I know some of the stories are maybe made up or exaggerated, the gossip about Pierre by his enemies, but I think there's a little bit of truth there that the ship's not running very good for him. I predicted after he lost his seat in the last election that he wasn't going to be in the Conservative leader for the next election. And then I thought maybe I'll be wrong here, because there's no insurrection against him. But now here's the insurrection. And it's just ahead of a leadership review. I think it's a mandatory leadership review. So if he doesn't get a certain amount at the leadership review, he's done. So we'll see. But the problem is there's nobody to come replace him that will, for me at least, inspire any confidence that they'll fix anything. Like, the Conservative Party is a do-nothing party. So it's fun to watch them, like I said, the Liberals do this to their leaders too. They take the knife out, start sticking the knife in them. But the problem is there's nobody really coming up to replace. They did a poll to show which conservatives would go good against Carney, and Pierre did the best, I think, because he's incumbent. But they had Doug Ford, Carolyn Mulrooney, Jason Kenney. Like, they don't have anybody that's going to save Canada. Nobody on that list is going to save Canada. So we still got big problems in this country. We're going to have a Liberal majority for 3 years. That's the disaster. But the Conservatives helped them. They're a uniparty. They all work together. They're basically the same policy on the important issues: Ukraine, immigration, COVID, U.S. It's all the same, and people are going to start seeing that. So, but the problem is, what are they going to do? Who are they going to vote for? The Conservative Party? It's like Doug Ford is the best thing to show that there is no Conservative Party. Like the Conservative Party in Ontario is not conservative at all. Doug Ford's not conservative at all. But they vote for him. It's because Canada's screwed. Politically, at least. All right. Let's just look at the articles. I like Canadian politics. I'm glad we can have something to talk about. Other than just, I was talking about Indians every night. Ugh. Okay. Conservatives help Liberals survive confidence vote, defeat block amendment. So it's an amendment to the budget. Probably some crazy amendment, but apparently the NDP bloc voted against it. So it was the Conservatives that avoided an election here. That's crazy. Okay. Pierre Poilievre's caucus single-handedly kept the Liberal government from being defeated. That's weird. This just happened, too. Okay. Defeated a Bloc Québécois amendment to the government's recent budget. Bloc called on the House of Commons to reject the budget on the basis that it did not provide a top-up for old age security recipients and contained insufficient measures to fight climate change, amongst other grievances. Budget motion amendments aren't always considered confidence votes, but Government House Leader Stephen McKinnon said the government was treating them as such, raising the prospect of a snap election. So, I don't know what that means. So yeah, basically the Conservatives voted with the government. That's weird. They could have had an election. And this image of Pierre, and he's weak right now. Everything he does now is going to be looked at. And I don't see many moments of strength from him. I'm trying to be fair. Not seeing it. But here's a bunch of these stories coming out. Hill Times. Things are crumbling, changing caucus landscape. External pressures spell bad news for Poilievre. This is the Hill Times. So there have been stories like this all day on Pierre. So it's obvious there's knives out in his party. Whether there's enough knives to Julius Caesar him, that's another question. I thought he was mortally wounded when he lost the election and his seat. That's very hard to come back from. And he came back in the by-election, but it's still he had to waste a lot of time getting back in, and gave a lot of his enemies ammunition. So here's this. The ever-elusive anonymous Conservative strikes again. Things are crumbling, said a senior Conservative in a not-for-attribution interview with the Hill Times. It will be very hard for him to hang on. We'll see. So that's the Hill Times article. So we could be just gossip, could be just little sour grapes, or it could be a genuine uprising against Pierre. We'll find out. Okay. Here's this poll. They did this poll, like a general poll, not just Conservatives, but all voters. And it says Pierre would come out best against the Liberals. But I'm kind of like, whatever, this poll that doesn't really I'll look at the results, but it doesn't really do anything for me because, he did have a 30-point lead on the Liberals, and that evaporated. So polls and Polyev don't really make, they don't really have a lot of weight, I don't think. But anyway, they show him 38% beating Liberals, 36%. And then the next is Doug Ford losing the Liberals, 34-31. And then Jason Kenney, even worse, because he's a little weasel. Carolyn Mulrooney, she loses by 7. Rempel Garner loses by whatever. She'll never be leader. Tim Houston, nobody likes him. But anyway, not a very good list, not a very inspiring list. Anyway, even if Pierre leaves, none of these guys are going to do anything to help Canada. If Doug Ford will make it worse. So I'm not really I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, Pierre's gone. I don't see anybody coming in to replace him that'll shake things up the way they need to be shaken up. Okay. Pierre Poilievre does better than Doug Ford and other possible leaders against Mark Carney. Okay. Next. So, yeah, we should be seeing more and more stories in the coming days. So, especially, like Mark Carney's hinted that there'll be more liberals. More conservatives crossing over. So that'll be like the hammer throw, the hammer blow against Pierre. If he loses any more MPs, he lost 2 already. If he loses any more, it's going to be very hard, very difficult. Here's this National News Watch. That's a very left wing. But they're citing Global News. 2 connected Tories who spoke to Global News worried they were more symptoms of a malaise that has fallen over the party since April's election loss. Probably more symptoms. Were more symptoms of a malaise. There were more symptoms. In caucus, there's a reasonably widespread concern that maybe Pierre can never get it done, and they're not sure he's taking steps to improve. One conservative source, who was granted anonymity to speak about internal party business, told Global News. A second source agreed with the assessment. So, yeah, kind of like what I said, like, if they see Carney's getting locked in for 3 years, which Carney wants, he doesn't want to go have an election. He doesn't want to have to talk to the peasants. And when there's an election, you have to kind of talk to the peasants. So if Carney's locked in for 3 years, like a 3-year mortgage, then they're deciding, is Pierre the horse we want right now? Because if we're going to switch, now's the time. That way the new leader can build up for the next election. So that's what's going on right now. It's probably true because you have the Hill Times and you have Global. You have more than one outlet. There's probably something, and he's lost 2 MPs. So it's like there's probably something going on. Just how bad remains to be seen. But we'll expect a steady drip. All right. Here's another one. This is Tonda McCharles from the Toronto Star. Poilievre's Conservatives struggling to stay united, source says, as Carney's government survives a second budget vote. So this is the Toronto Star citing sources. Okay, so that's 3 different media places. And they're pretty well left wing, okay? I get it. But it's hard. It's doubtful that 3 different ones Even if they hate the Conservatives, they're not going to. I don't think they, like, it'd be very strange for them all to print the same untrue story. You know, I'm not saying they're truthful. I'm saying just this is the way the politics in Canada is reported. This probably has some truth to it. If 3 different organizations are reporting this way. Maxime Bernier, next one. How can we remain optimistic in the face of massive migration that destroys our social fabric, makes the housing market prohibitively expensive and inaccessible while our standard of living declines? Yeah, we're talking about leaders, and when I was saying about leaders, I was saying in the Conservative Party, I don't see anybody at all. I like Maxime Bernier, but unfortunately, he's not getting any. He hasn't gotten any. Like, people want to see more results than what they've gotten. Unfortunately, the young people don't seem to be on the PPC train, which is unfortunate. But he's right. He's been pretty consistent. I'd vote for him, but all right. So, how can we remain optimistic in the face of massive migration that destroys social fabric, makes the housing market prohibitively expensive and inaccessible while standard of living declines? So, he's responding to this poll. Canadians feel optimistic about their personal lives, but pessimistic about the country. I don't know how that makes sense. If the country's gone to shit, that would affect your personal life, you'd think. I'm sick of polls, to be honest. Here's another Jamie Sarkanik. The immigration levels plan. We were talking about this the other day. The immigration levels plan released Tuesday addresses population overload in the same way that partially mending a plumbing leak helps drain a flooded basement. It doesn't. She wrote a column here. Yeah, they're going to let in like 380,000 a year permanent residents for 3 years, which is basically the size of London every year, or the size of Edmonton every 3 years. And that's not including temporary people, refugees. It's horrible. All right. And an amnesty. They're going to give people that are here that are going to expire, they're going to let them stay. So, okay. So, anyway, that's what that article says. It's horrible, horrible, horrible. And then that's not including the Bill C3 where they'll get the birthright citizenship, where they can get transfer their citizenship to their kids, even if their kids aren't born in Canada. So, yeah, lots of different ways to flood Canada, and we're going to have 3 years of the Liberals' majority to do it, which sucks. Yeah, if the Conservatives would have done their job and won the election, or at least been effective. I mean, they should have won with O'Toole. That's how pissed off people were about Trudeau. They were sick of him then, and they fumbled it twice. Because O'Toole's a loser, too. Here's Kirk Lubomov. There are only 3 things you need to know about Mark Carney's mass immigration plan for Canada. Permanent residents numbers are higher than in Justin Trudeau's reduced plan from 2025. The target of 5% non-permanent residents of total population will most likely not be reached. Right now, I think it's like 7% of the population is not Canadian and not permanent residents. That's a lot of foreigners. None of it matters once Bill C3 passes, which hands out chain citizenships and floodgates into Canada will be open. And trust me, they're going to take advantage of that chain citizenship and birthright citizenship. they're going to have like 10 babies over in India, and they're going to sign them all up as Canadians. You watch. It probably won't even be their babies. It'll probably just be like, here, sign here. You're Canadian. All right. This story bugs me. The Ontario Tunnel. They want to build a tunnel. They want to spend $100 billion, Doug Ford, to build a tunnel under the busiest highway in Canada, busiest stretch of highway in Canada. And meanwhile, they can't even get the LRT done in Eglinton. It's been going on for like 15 years. And they're going to do a full tunnel under for 401 for $100 billion. Like, oh my God. So anyway, they're paying a company $9 million to do an assessment. And it's a shady deal, it looks like. But you don't have to pay $9 million to know it's going to be a disaster, especially with Doug Ford. And I don't think we need a tunnel. I think we just need to deport $100 billion worth of people and save the money on the tunnel. And then that'll reduce traffic, and we won't need the tunnel. That's what I think. There's $9 million saved right there. They can't even finish the Eglinton or LRT, and they're going to build a tunnel. And at least if they had Elon Musk, they could maybe build the tunnel. But they don't want to deal with him either, because Elon doesn't want to deal with Doug Ford probably. All right. Shit. This one's making the rounds. This video. It's a British veteran. He's 100 years old. And he went on this talk show, Good Morning Britain, I think. And he went on the talk show, and they're expecting him to just do this, what's a puff piece, for Remembrance Day. And he's just going to say the standard shit, like, oh, yeah. But he threw them a curveball, and he told the truth. That's crazy. But, when you're 100 years old and you face death, you don't really have anything to lose. It's probably the most truthful person on the internet. So anyway, he said, they asked him about, anyway, let's watch the video. Watch the video here.
And we will do. We want to... What does Remembrance Sunday mean for you? What is your message?
My message is, I can see in my mind's eye those rows and rows of white stones of all the hundreds of my friends and everybody else that gave their lives for what? The country of today. No, I'm sorry. The sacrifice wasn't worth the result that it is now.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
What do you mean by that, though?
What do you mean by that? Yeah, whatever, man.
What we fought for was our freedom. We find that even now it's darn sight worse than what it was when I fought for it.
Oh, Alec, I'm sorry you feel like that, because I want you to know
I'm sorry you feel like that.
All the generations that have come since, including me and my children, are so grateful for your bravery and all that for service personnel. And it's our job now, isn't it, to make it the country that you fought for. You absolutely fought for. And we will do. We want to...
They're probably talking in the ear, the producers, like, get them off.
The word around.
We will do.
Younger generation.
And I guarantee that everybody watching at home will be wanting you to send lots of love. We've got another little bit special thing for you, Alec. We've got the D-Day darlings here. Come on over, guys. You've got a little special present for him. Ooh. Come and give it if you can, to thank you for all your many brave years of service.
They just want to shut you up now.
This is our album, Alec, and I know you love a lot of the songs on there. And this is the least we can do. This is such a small thing.
The least we can do for destroying the country that you tried, you risked your life to save.
Young ladies are like my own daughters.
and all we have
All right.
are these puppets.
So it's kind of going viral, this guy's video, this old guy. Because before, if you would say that, if you'd say, "Oh, World War II, look at the way Canada, look at the way UK is, look at the way Europe is," it's like, did we really win the war? And you would get accused of being a Nazi if you said something like that. But here's this veteran who actually fought the Nazis saying the exact same thing. So it's crazy. And I'm sure they'll try and cancel him. But he's uncancelable, this guy. But yeah, it's like, we won the war, right? But the country's destroyed. So maybe we didn't win the war. All right. Here we go. Max Janus. If Polyev can't manage his own party, how can he manage the Prime Minister's office? Yes. Lots of, even, and this is he's a young conservative guy, but I've seen other conservatives that are generally supportive of Polyev on X, and they're starting to be like, what the hell, man? He's not really inspiring the leadership we need and stuff. So, like, even there's conservatives on the X that are doubting him, like publicly doubting him. All right. Polyev stories, whether they're true or not, will probably keep coming out. Something's going on. I don't think he'll survive. That's my bet. Okay. Here's a little bit of Sarnia news. Sarnia. The only thing we're to get on the news for is the truckers get busted at the Blue Water Bridge. 2 new truckers charged with smuggling millions of dollars worth of meth into Canada at the Blue Water Bridge. 24-year-old Karan Owan of Kingston and 32-year-old Gangandeep Singaril of Brampton charged with importing and trafficking meth. Yes. That's just who knows how many trucks got through. How many trucks got through? A lot of drugs. It seems like the drugs are coming only from the States, though. I don't hear many buses going to the States. It's all coming here. What's going on, Trump? Okay. I saw this poll. Canadians are skipping bills to afford groceries, according to a Nanos poll. I believe it. Groceries suck. And it goes up. Everything's going up still. Wait till people start stealing from the supermarkets. We had a guy in Sarnia. I saw it on my Facebook here. Stole $400. This supermarket, I go to this supermarket. Sold $400, over $400 worth of stuff. So, he might have just been a crackhead, but I'm pretty sure they would steal something other than groceries, I don't know. Yeah, he's probably a crackhead, actually. But still, people are going to start stealing groceries, what I'm saying. And then they're going to have to put a security guard at the supermarket. And they're going to have to pay more money to pay the security guard. And then they'll just close the store. All right. Here's another story here. Canada entering purge territory. I've been talking about this. About home invasions. 3 different things. Home invasions. So purge territory. Home invasions. Day and night now. Youth offenders doing the home invasions. Protected by the Youth Criminal Justice Act. And then the third thing is spreading crime. So basically, instead of GTA, it's spreading to smaller communities outside. So Whitby, Brantford, Grimsby, whatever. Newmarket. It's not just GTA now. And because there's a lot of money on those suburbs. Like even in Sarnia here. I could see gangs coming here to do some home invasions just for the night. But this one is a bad one. Whitby. I don't think that's GTA. So, Aaron O'Toole's old riding. 3 people in custody and 3 others remain at large following a violent armed home invasion in Whitby early Tuesday morning. So, according to investigators, the incident unfolded around 2:50 a.m. when 6 masked suspects forced their way into a residence. Police allege the suspects assaulted the homeowner with a firearm before demanding car keys and other valuables. The group fled the scene in the victim's blue Ford Raptor, a pickup truck, and a Jeep Grand Cherokee they had arrived in. Officers say the suspects also attempted to steal another vehicle from the garage but were unsuccessful. All right. Okay. So the assistance of the K-9 unit, police searched the area and arrested 3 suspects without incident. Jeep was later confirmed to have been stolen from Toronto. See? There you go. Before the home invasion. The stolen Ford Raptor was also recovered in Toronto. So they go for a drive to Whitby, do a home invasion, and come back to Toronto. That's what they're going to do in Sarnia too. They'll go to London. They'll drive from London to Sarnia, do the home invasion or 2 before the cops can even respond. They'll be on their way back. All right. Police identified one of the suspects as Robin Badwa of Mississauga, but the other 2 are young offenders, 16-year-old and a 17-year-old. They shouldn't be cheating. I don't care. We got to fix that. Like a proper conservative leader would say, reform the Young Offenders Act. But not a word of this from Pierre. But we definitely need to reform it because I don't care. If you're a 16 or 17-year-old and you're doing a home invasion, you're not a kid anymore. I don't care. I'm not saying we'll put you in jail for the next 30 years, but we can at least put your name in the newspaper and embarrass you a little. Like, I don't understand. Why would you protect their name? Home invasion, man. So, yeah, definitely need changes to that. 3 additional suspects remain outstanding. So, who knows who the other 3? I hate home invasions. That's the worst thing you can do is go into somebody's house. That's the worst thing you can do. I mean, one of the worst things you can do. Excuse me. Next. You need not strangle a man if you can silence him. G.K. Chesterton. Bills C8 and C9 are censorship laws that can silence any voice that the Canadian government does not agree with. Yeah, I think we're in for some censorship. Once they get I think they're going to get an official majority. I think there's a couple more rats coming out of the ship, the Conservative Party. But even if they don't, between the NDP and the Liberals, like the NDP they have no reason to vote against the Liberals at the moment. They have no reason. So, and the NDP loves this kind of bills, these anti-hate bills, whatever, hate speech bills. They're going to vote for it. So we're screwed. We're going to have a little problems coming up, I think. I mean, we have it right now, but they're going to turn the screws very soon, thanks to Do Nothing Pierre. He actually voted to keep them in power. This is the Conservative Party of Canada. This is Tim O'Paul. He was actually he's the deputy leader of the Conservatives. Some Indian dude. And this is him 2 years ago saying, "We stand with international students wrongly facing deportation by the Liberal government. The government accepted fake admission letters from shady immigration consultants, and now years later is punishing the students by deporting them." Yeah, the students are totally innocent. We got to keep them. So there he is right there. That's the Conservative Party. That's why they suck. Yeah. We got problems because the Conservative Party is kind of like made up of different types of conservatives, and usually a good leader, like when I say good leader, I mean successful leader. I don't mean I like them, but they're successful. Like Mulrooney or Harper was able to kind of keep them all together without killing each other. And you do that by, promising them stuff and bribing them and giving them positions and charming them a little, I suppose. But Pierre just couldn't do it. Keep the beast together. So here's Jason Levine. He's no means a Polyev hater at all. He's from Alberta. And he kind of expressed the sentiment. It's just, what the heck's going on with the CPC? If former MP Matt General was even thinking about resigning, why didn't he do so when Pierre needed a seat? Excuse me. This is a good point, because Pierre just did a by-election. Like, he could have just took this guy's seat. But this guy is in Edmonton, which would be a little more competitive than where Pierre was. Anyway, he says, his letter said he ran with hopes Canadians would back Pierre, but they didn't. Does that mean he too lost faith in Pierre? He also specifically said he respects both sides of the aisle for their hard work for Canada. Sincerely, how and why would he be applauded for Carney? How and why would he applaud Carney and the Liberals? Then he concludes with saying he wants to be with his family. Something is going on. It's not looking good for the CPC, Canada, and certainly not Alberta. So, just a lot of grumbling, a lot of whispering, a lot of murmuring on the Conservative side. It'll come to a head. Okay. I saw this picture. Just Tim Hortons, the wind blew it over, I think. Was it the wind? Stephenville, Newfoundland. And they said, oh, great metaphor summing up the current state of Tim Hortons. And I said, plus, and Canada too. Tim Hortons, as goes Tim Hortons, so does Canada. All right. Yeah. That's it. That's all for Pierre. But that's what I saw all day today, is just the kind of the gossip on Pierre. And I think, like I said, the realization that Carney's going to stick it out for the 3 years with the de facto majority, maybe official majority. He could always bribe an NDP to join the Liberals too. Why not? What's the NDP guy got to lose? Everything to gain, nothing to lose. Like, it's almost a de facto majority. So Conservatives are saying, we got to make a move. This is it. We got to make a move. So I don't think he survives. I don't think Pierre survives this. I could be wrong, but I don't think he survives it. Because he doesn't have that. He already had enough enemies before this began, but now it makes it harder when you're already kind of behind it. But the problem I have is I couldn't care less if they get rid of Pierre. There's nobody coming in the Conservative Party, at least, to, bring like a Canada First platform without the Zio shills interfering. Like a straight Canada First platform. I don't see anybody I know PPC says they are, but they're not getting any traction. So Conservative Party, there's nobody. So what do you do with the Conservative Party? If they're perpetual losers, do they even continue to exist? That's what we'll find out. Canada needs a little bit of shake-up on the political front, and Pierre ain't shaking up anything here. So I'm sure the gossip will continue. We'll be back tomorrow, November 8th, Saturday, November 8th, because I have nothing better to do, and see what more gossip we have out of Ottawa, because I'm sure there's going to be tons this weekend. And we'll check out anything else that comes up. So until then, have a nice night.